An ex-soldier hunts down his former comrades who killed his brother while searching for a relic that could help them take control of the nation. In 1865 in Missouri, the Union cavalry, led by Sergeant Harknett, visits Jamie Hedges to announce that his brother, Josiah, passed away while on duty. However, Harknett adds that Josiah owed him money, and the man claimed he had a jewel box in his brother's home. Therefore, the sergeant orders Jamie to retrieve the item for him to pay Josiah's debt. Jamie calls the man a liar, knowing Harknett's father is a wealthy senator, so the money Josiah supposedly owes him wouldn't have been worth riding all this way. Seeing him not cooperating, one of Harknett's men, Little Bill, shoots Jamie's dog to encourage the man. The group laughs as Jamie mourns, not noticing that he eyes the gun on his porch. Suddenly, Harknett grabs him and shoots his knee, so Jamie crawls to his porch, promising to give them the box. Instead, he takes his gun and shoots Little Bill but only hits his flask. Harknett then fires at Jamie's other knee, leaving him immobile as his men search his home. While they do, Little Bill wonders what they'll do about Josiah, who's apparently still alive. The sergeant then decides that they need something to lure him out. That evening, Josiah Hedges discovers his brother's body while his home burns. 2 months later, Josiah arrives in Seward, where he meets Beth, a newcomer in town. When he wonders about the emptiness of the roads, she points him to a sign indicating that the locals left to watch an execution. With that, the man heads to the site. His presence disrupts the execution as deputies Trickett and Bean notice Josiah's firearm, so they order him to surrender it. When the man refuses, Trickett aims his gun at the visitor, so Josiah swiftly disarms, lifts, and shoots him. He then fires at the rope hanging the fugitive, freeing the man momentarily. Bean aims at Josiah, but the sheriff, Big Bill, orders him to stand down. The man defends that his deputy threatened him, so he shot him in self-defense. Acknowledging the newcomer's skill, Big Bill invites him to replace his fallen deputy. Josiah accepts the job, so the sheriff orders Bean to show him around before they commence the execution again, much to the fugitive's horror. Bean tours his new comrade, sharing how there used to be an underground railroad that transported servants in their town. However, the owner realized that he couldn't profit from his business, so he burned the place down along with the servants before fleeing with the gold paid to the station. While looking at the old burnt church, Josiah notices a boy playing, reminding him of his brother. Bean then introduces him to Benny, a servant with a missing arm who pronounces the newcomer's name as Mr. Edge. The young man shows him to his room at the saloon and notices Little Bill's broken flask amongst Josiah's belongings. Checking outside, the newcomer finds crates of fireworks, piquing his interest. He then pays Benny for assisting him, surprising the lad since people don't usually give him money. At dusk, Josiah watches over the town from the saloon's rooftop as he promises vengeance for his brother. That evening, Josiah heads downstairs to the saloon for work, and he's surprised to discover that Beth is among the courtesans. At the bar, Josiah wonders what crime the man who was hanged earlier committed, so Bean explains that he spat on the street, which is a capital offense since he did it in front of the sheriff. The man comments that the sheriff must think highly of himself. Noticing a portrait of Big Bill and his son, he wonders about the kid, so Bean shares that Little Bill is a soldier and will be coming home soon. Just then, Little Bill's wife, Pilar, arrives, and Benny gives her a drawing, which she promptly discards. Bean tells his partner that it's their job to keep her safe. The bar owner is under orders never to serve Pilar drinks, so the woman tends to fool any visitor into buying her one, which often leads to trouble. As Bean predicts, Pilar approaches a group of men playing poker to seduce them. Suddenly, a dog enters the saloon and bites on one of the men's boots, so he kicks it. Seeing this, Josiah approaches the table, fuming. He warns the men that Pilar is married, but they remain unfazed. With this, Josiah takes out a knife and swiftly defeats the men in seconds. When he returns to Bean's side, he notices the drawing of Little Bill that Pilar discarded. Soon, Beth goes to the post office and sends a letter to Harknett, warning the man that Josiah is in town. She then unfolds a drawing of the jewel box that the sergeant is searching for before adding to the letter that she will keep an eye out for the item. Meanwhile, Josiah corners Benny and asks about his drawing of Little Bill. He noticed that he drew the man with a scar across his chin. However, Josiah knows Little Bill got that scar during a battle. He questions how Benny knows about it when the sheriff's son hasn't returned since he left for the war. Frightened, Benny points him to the old church, revealing that Little Bill is hiding there. Josiah immediately heads in, but only finds Pilar wearing a chastity belt in bed. With him distracted, Big Bill appears behind him with a gun, ordering the intruder to discard his weapon. The sheriff reveals that his son warned him about a man looking for him, so he suspected it to be Josiah. The man then reveals a key to his daughter-in-law's belt, offering the visitor a night with her if he abandons his revenge against his son. Josiah refuses, so Big Bill criticizes the man for being ungrateful, given that he also gave him a job instead of executing him. The sheriff then tours Josiah around the church while sharing that he's about to transport some important cargo and needs a bodyguard to accompany him. If Josiah forgets his anger toward Little Bill, the sheriff wants him on this job. Before the man can answer, their conversation is interrupted by the sound of gunshots. As the sheriff investigates, Pilar pulls Josiah into an alley, explaining that she ordered Benny to fire those shots to distract her father-in-law. She did this because she wants him to help her escape, offering him gold in exchange. Pilar claims that the gold from the Underground Railroad is still hidden in the church, and Big Bill has been searching for it. However, the woman believes that Benny knows where it is. Hearing this, Josiah figures out that Big Bill has been executing people for small crimes, so he can keep digging around the church for the gold without anyone noticing. Pilar confirms this and suggests they find it before him and escape. When the man still hesitates, Pilar points out that when he killed Trickett, he lifted him to the sky first to ensure that none of the residents would get accidentally hit. This makes her believe that there's good in Josiah. Just then, Big Bill arrives, so Pilar slaps Josiah and screams that he dragged her there to take advantage of her. She commands her father-in-law to execute him, but discreetly slips a key into Josiah's pocket, whispering to him that he should figure out how to free them both. After she leaves, Big Bill and Bean arrest the man and allow him to finally face Little Bill. Later, Josiah is imprisoned while the guards fiddle with his gun. However, when the last guard falls asleep, he uses Pilar's key to unlock his cell and escape. He then goes to the woman, demanding to know where her husband is. She claims she doesn't know, so Josiah asks her why Big Bill was offering her to him. Pilar reveals that her father-in-law took advantage of her while his son was away, and she's now carrying his child. He needs to put the blame on another man and chose to do this on Josiah. The man then notices small nuggets of gold on her nightstand, so Pilar shares that Benny gave it to her, and he can lead them to more. Again, Josiah refuses as he has a mission to complete. Changing tactics, Pilar goes to Benny's room, who immediately starts removing the drawings he made of her from his wall, except for one. The woman asks him where he got the gold he gave her, hinting that she thinks his father stole them. Benny clarifies that his father was a blacksmith, but Pilar believes that his father smelted the gold into something, so she demands to know what it was. As she questions him, Benny recalls how, as a kid, he was playing with a ball while his father worked on something. However, the ball went into a pot of molten metal, and Benny instinctively reached for it, thus getting his arm burnt. When Benny asserts that he doesn't know where the gold is, Josiah enters and removes the drawing that he didn't hide, revealing a secret compartment on the wall behind it. Inside, they discover the gold in the shape of Benny's arm, since the pot he stuck his hand into was filled with molten gold. The following day, the sheriff discovers that Josiah has escaped and left him 2 gold fingers with a note saying that he'll get the rest if he sends Little Bill to the town sign. Big Bill later finds Josiah and Benny waiting for his son at a hill overlooking the sign. He points out that he sent Little Bill to the sign, so Josiah questions if he values the gold more than his son. The sheriff confirms, adding that he's not even sure if Little Bill is his. With that, he urges the man to shoot him. Josiah takes aim, but recalls how the sheriff's guards fiddled with his gun yesterday. Concluding that they sabotaged it, he turns back, only for the sheriff's men to apprehend him. Big Bill then figures out that Benny is there for Josiah to trade, since he knows where the gold is. The sheriff thanks the man for bringing this to his attention before ordering his men to beat Josiah up. The skilled ex-soldier, however, steals one of their guns and shoots, freeing himself. The commotion allows Benny to run to a horse and escape. Another man grabs Josiah's discarded gun to stop him, but the firearm backfires and hits him instead. As the others shoot, Josiah falls off the cliff and lands on a tree branch, which stabs him in the stomach. Bean checks if he's dead, but Josiah shoots him when he looks. Not wanting to take the risk, the sheriff decides to abandon him, sure that he'll either fall into the river and drown or bleed to death. The beaten Josiah remains on the branch, unable to move until the next day. To his surprise, Little Bill visits him, hoping to make amends for his brother's death. However, he clarifies that Harknett was the one who killed Jamie, not him. Hearing this, Josiah fights through the pain and finally removes the branch from his stomach. He then lets himself fall into the river, fighting through the current to get ashore. The following day, Big Bill's men captures Benny and have him strung up against the sign. This allows the sheriff to interrogate him about the gold. Unbeknownst to him, Josiah has broken into the town's armory and sets his eyes on a Gatling gun. Meanwhile, Big Bill prepares to torture the information out of Benny when Harknett and his men arrive. As the sheriff gets nervous about their presence, Little Bill approaches to meet his comrades. Harknett wonders about Josiah, so Big Bill claims that they killed him days ago. He then asks the cavalry to surrender their guns while in town, but Harknett refuses. Pissed that his authority isn't respected, Big Bill threatens the men. Before things escalate, dynamite lands on the road, so everyone scatters just as it explodes. When the dust settles, they find something ominous in the street, and the men start shooting at it, only to find that it's a scarecrow. Behind it, however, is Josiah with the Gatling gun. He starts raining bullets on his opponents, inflicting immense damage. The gunfight leads to the sign carrying Benny to fall, so Josiah rushes to the man's aid. Before he can reach him, Benny finds a gun within arm's reach and shoots Harknett, though the sergeant fires back and hits him in the chest. As one of Harknett's men corners Josiah, the man tosses a lit match into a drain, which ends with a trail of gunpowder he prepared to ignite the crate of fireworks. The explosion burns the man while Josiah continues wreaking havoc as he makes his way to Benny. However, another man fires at him from below and hits his foot, causing him to fall. Despite this, Josiah kills the man just as he notices Harknett heading to the church. He then finds that Benny is dying, so he has no choice but to end his misery. Unbeknownst to him, Beth sees this from inside the saloon. Josiah then rushes to the church where Harknett has Pilar hostage. With no choice, Josiah tosses out his bag and weapons. Appeased, Harknett demands to know where the box is. When the man doesn't speak, the sergeant taunts him about his brother's slow death. However, Pilar looks up and discovers that he's luring the man within Big Bill's view. She warns Josiah, but he still gets shot in the shoulder. Despite this, Josiah recovers his bag and lights dynamite. Harknett then shoots Pilar, but only strikes the lock on her belt, freeing her. Josiah then throws the dynamite at Big Bill at the bell tower, while the woman strikes the sergeant with her metal belt. The sheriff attempts to escape but trips on the bell's ropes, causing him to fall with his leg caught in it. He starts shooting at the rope to free himself, but accidentally hits the bell instead, revealing the gold underneath its corroded exterior. Striking gold, Big Bill laughs, but the dog from the saloon drops the dynamite, which falls just under him. Meanwhile, Harknett escapes, so Josiah follows him, only for the dynamite to explode, killing the sheriff and knocking him down. Seeing the sergeant escape, the wounded Josiah gets on a horse to follow him. The town's preacher tells him never to return as he's ruined their town, and the man simply leaves with a smile, knowing that things will change there since he just killed Big Bill. Meanwhile, Little Bill runs out, only to be met by the angry townspeople who blame his return for the chaos. Outside the town, Josiah soon falls off his horse, allowing Harknett to get away. Beth finds him and tries to help him, but the man knows she works for the sergeant, given that he saw her at the post office the other night. The woman reminds him that the Harknett family owns half the country, so she didn't have much choice but to follow orders. Beth insists that she wants to help him, seeing his kindness when he ended Benny's misery. However, she also wants to find the jewel box, but Josiah denies knowing about it. That evening, the town gathers for Little Bill's execution, only for a woman to announce that Josiah has returned. Afraid, the man hurries the people to hang him as he'd rather die quickly than be captured by Josiah. Before they can, however, Josiah demands for the man, otherwise he'd take more of them. Pilar begs for him to stop as she still pities her husband, but the intruder refuses to give him mercy. He begins shooting the men, forcing everyone to flee and leave Little Bill on the ropes. This allows him to shoot his enemy piece by piece before finally letting him die. Days later, Harknett returns to Missouri and arrives at a gentleman's club. He announces to them how he's been to smaller towns and found servants roaming around unchaperoned, with one even selling his drawings. This leaves the men appalled, so Harknett proposes to reform the Confederate States. When one man questions his motives, given that he fought for the Union cavalry, Harknett claims that it was all for appearances. He adds that since he will inherit his father's fortune, he needed to place his bet on the winner's side, and until now, he doubted the Confederate success. He knows these gentlemen need savages to rule, so he promises to bring such using the sacred relic in the box he's been searching for. That relic will guarantee them the alliance of the Apache Nation. The idea of working with the Apache angers the men, causing an uproar. To get the men to take him seriously, Harknett swiftly eliminates the courtesans in their company, silencing everyone. With their attention back to him, Harknett shares again that he just returned from a small town, but he's been there before. As he says this, he recalls burning down the church in Seward and riding away as the servants trapped inside screamed in agony.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.